Thank you very much for this very important occasion tonight. We will soon be going on to television and to start the debates. But before we do that, we are live on the Joynews channel on Multi-TV, and we want to welcome all our viewers to the University for Development Studies Faculty of Education 2020 National Political Parties Education Policy Debate in Ghana. And this will feature 4 of the political parties who will share their positions as regards their policies. But before we start, we will quickly invite for an opening prayer Afasa Isa Hussein Yakubu to quickly lead us in a very quick prayer, and then we will take the national anthem and proceed to observe a minute's silence in honor of the former President Jerry John Rawlings, for whom we have this university standing. Shall we have that quickly done and then proceed as we are ready on television? We want to welcome all our television viewers joining us on the Multi-TV on Joynews channel to the University for Development Studies here in Tamale. Welcome to a very important part of the debate that may have been missing in the mainstream discussion, education. Thank you.
Thank you too. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil mursaleen. Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahabatihi ajma'in wa ba'd. May we be in the mood of prayers. Allahumma lakal hamdu kulluhu wa lakal shukru kulluhu wa lakal mulku kulluhu wa biyadikal khayru kulluhu wa ilayka yurja'ul amru kulluhu. Allahumma inna nas'aluka as-salamata min al-bidayati ila an-nihaya. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide and guide us from beginning of this beautiful program to the end. It's all going to be deliberations and debate. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable the panel to bring out the best from their political parties for the audience and the entirety of Ghanaian populace to benefit. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the end, we wish to see and we pray to experience peaceful election. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us that. Allahumma rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhaban nar. Rabbana zalamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. صلاة على النبي الكريم.
Thank you very much, Hussein Yakubu. If you are just joining us, this is the 2020 National Political Parties Education Policy Debates coming to you live from the University for Development Studies campus. Let's now stand for the national anthem. Please let's remain standing for 1 minute and observe a minute of silence in honor of the former President Jerry John Rawlings. May the good Lord bless his soul. Shall we please take our seats now? And once again, you are welcome to the University for Development Studies, UDS, and this is Tamale. This is the 2020 National Political Parties Education Policy Debates in Ghana. And it's brought to you by the University for Development Studies, UDS, in partnership with NORSAC and Oxfam. I am Samson Ladi Anyanini. I will be your moderator for this debate. And I'd like to begin by welcoming the following people who are in our midst. We are certainly here to the landlord of this campus, Professor Felix Kweku Abagale, who is the Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University for Development Studies. Thank you very much, Prof, for making the time to be here for this very important exercise, to show that the University for Development Studies is not an ivory tower, but that it is connected with the people. Dr. Sulemana A. Achanso, who is the Dean Faculty of Sustainable Development Studies. Thank you very much. Also, Professor Owusu Sechere, Director, Distance Education, right here at the University for Development Studies. Dr. Felix Longe, who is the UTAC President of UDS Tamale. Thank you for also making yourself available. Samantha Gifty Bukari, Consul General of Ghana to Dubai, the UEA. Thank you very much for your presence. Professor Samuel A. Donko, Dean, School of Applied Economics and Management Sciences, UDS Nyampala Campus. Thank you for your patience, and we begin immediately. Of course, we also have Professor Haruna Yakubu, former Vice Chancellor of the UDS. Thank you for your presence. We will, at this point, welcome for a brief address by the Professor Felix K. Abagale, who is the Pro-Vice Chancellor, for a very brief address. Please, let's put our hands together and welcome him. If you are just joining us, this is your Joynews channel, and this is also Joy 99.7 FM, and we are coming to you from the University for Development Studies campus here in Tamale.
Thank you very much, and good evening. I deliver this speech on behalf of the Vice Chancellor of the University for Development Studies, Professor Gabriel Eyumtei. Honorable Minister of State, Members of Parliament present, Honorable MMDCs, the Consul General to the United Arab Emirates, Registrar of the University, Professor Haruna Yakubu, Third Vice Chancellor of the University for Development Studies, Deans and Directors of the University present, senior members of the University, stakeholders of education herein present, officials of NOSAC and Oxfam present in our midst, representatives of political parties, media, chiefs and traditional rulers present, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is my pleasure and honor to welcome you all to the University for Development Studies on the occasion of the Faculty of Education 2020 Political Parties Debate on Education Policy in Ghana. The debate is an important initiative by the Faculty of Education of the University because as a higher institution of learning, we consider education as pivotal and as a bedrock to national development. It is in this regard that sound educational policies, as well as implementation strategies, would not only play a vital role in raising the image and living standards of the citizenry, but also will enhance effective skill acquisition as well as competitiveness to drive our capacity to generate wealth and improve the quality of lives of the Ghanaian citizenry. Ladies and gentlemen, this platform is considered a non-partisan one, and it is organized by the Faculty of Education in collaboration of NOSAC and Oxfam, with the main reason to engage political parties on the educational policies therein presented in their manifestos. These debates will provide an opportunity for reflection and dialogue among the political parties as well as stakeholders present in this program, so that we together can foster our way forward to have a good educational system come the years ahead of us. Ladies and gentlemen, educational policy issues should be a major priority to any political party and all politicians, because voters would necessarily be very much interested in what is contained in their manifesto, especially in the area of education. It is therefore my fervent hope that the voters will listen attentively and the stakeholders herein present would ask the necessary questions so that it will engage our political parties to allow us have a very good educational system for the years to come. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to use this platform to call on political leaders and their supporters to refrain from any act of violence and confusion in the quest to capture political power or retain political power come December 7, 2020. Election is a medium for exchange of ideas and sale of our thoughts as to how we want to govern the country. It doesn't provide us a platform for bloodshed, and so therefore it must be a peaceful process and it must be civil to allow us elect the good leaders that we desire for. Ladies and gentlemen, on this note, I would like to welcome you once again on behalf of the Vice Chancellor of the University for Development Studies, and I wish all the speakers and all the stakeholders a fruitful period of deliberation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You are here live on your Joynews channel and also on Joy 99.7 FM. If you are just joining us, this is the 2020 National Political Parties Educational Policy Debate in Ghana, and is brought to you by the University for Development Studies, UDS, in collaboration with NORSAC and Oxfam. Shall we welcome the Executive Director of NORSAC, Oxfam, Alhaji Muhammad Awal, to give us a very brief remark, and then we will start the debate right away. Thankfully, the political parties are formidably represented here for this evening's encounter. A round of applause for Alhaji Muhammad Awal as he gives us a very brief remark.
Thank you very much, Samson. Good evening to you all. I stand on the established protocol by our Pro-VC, and to, first of all, commend University for Development Studies for this particular initiative. NORSAC and Oxfam are happy to see UDS, which is the premier university of the North, initiate something like this. It wasn't therefore surprising that when the proposal was discussed with Oxfam and NORSAC, we didn't hesitate to support and be part of this particular initiative. So I commend UDS for this initiative, and also the political parties for attaching seriousness to this particular initiative. Some of you traveling down from Accra to be with us. We are grateful. NORSAC and Oxfam believe that education can be used to address issues of poverty and inequality. And so we are going to 2020 elections. And we feel there is a need for citizens to know policy proposals of the political parties, and that can inform their decision when it comes to casting votes. We are doing so because of our belief that if we prioritize education, we are going to bridge the gap that exists between the North and South. And so our decision to be part of this is to make sure that the political parties have an opportunity to discuss their policy proposals, so that those of us here, after elections, we will continue to discuss, monitor, and of course criticize where there is a need. Today is not for us to present detailed speeches, but to listen to these political parties, and so we are going to do exactly that. So on this note, I wish the political parties well. We are here to listen to you, and we hope you will give us the best of the day. Thank you so much for.
Thank you very much, the Executive Director for NORSAC, Oxfam, Mohammed Al-Hassan Awal. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now gotten to the point where we get into the main reason we are here tonight. Now, here are some of the ground rules that we will be observing in the course of this debates. First and most important, you are not expected to clap, but you may clap when we are taking a break and all the panelists have responded to their questions. We have 2 segments. After we are done with the first segment, I shall call upon you to give all of them a round of applause. So do not clap in the middle of the presentation or soon after one panelist is done with their presentation. All the representatives of the political parties here will be giving a first opportunity of telling all of us and the whole of Ghana their education policies without the moderator interrupting at any point. That will be the first time that they begin this debate, and they will have about 4 minutes to do so. Once they are done with that, I will be asking each one of them a question, and they will have 2 minutes to respond to the question that is asked them. If anybody has a rebuttal, they have an opportunity of a minute to do so, and I may follow up with follow-up questions. We will take a break after the first segment and return for the second segment, where the questions will be fielded by professional organizations that are present this evening in this hall. The NATS, the NAGRAT, and UTAG will also be asking their questions. The representatives will have 2 minutes each to provide responses. And subsequently, they will have an additional 2 minutes to supply rebuttals and closing remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, because you will not have the opportunity to clap, may I invite you to now give them a round of applause as I introduce our panelists for this evening. In the order as you find on the ballots, there are 4 political parties represented here tonight, and the criteria has been very simple. Either that the party is in parliament or has been in parliament in the Fourth Republic. So starting from my immediate left is Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, Deputy Minister for Education and MP for Busumche, representing the NPP. Dr. Ahmed Yakubu Al-Hassan is former Deputy Minister for Agriculture, former MP, Mion constituency, right here in the northern region, representing the NDC. Also, we have Professor Emmanuel Yaovi Honwe Bobobi. He is Vice Presidential Candidate of the CPP, representing the CPP tonight. And finally, Pastor Dr. Divine Aivo is Vice Presidential Candidate of the PNC and representing the PNC's flag bearer, David Apasera. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your moderator, Samson Ladi Anyanini. I host Newsfile on Joynews, television and radio. Gentlemen, we shall begin right away, and starting from that same order, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum. In the next 4 minutes, we want to hear the NPP's policy in summary for education in Ghana. It's on.
Thank you. I can stand or how to sit? I have to sit or stand? Sit. It's not easy to tell a teacher to sit and talk, but I'll sit and talk. It's an honor to be here today to represent my party. And I feel privileged to be in Tamale and to join the university community, stakeholder community, traditional authorities, and to share with you the NDC's policies underpinning the education progress we are seeing in this country. Education in the 21st century is a difference maker. In fact, education is not just a piece of the puzzle. If we are talking about socioeconomic transformation, in the 21st century, it's the whole puzzle. If you don't get education right, you're not going to get your socioeconomic transformation right. Therefore, the leadership of MPP, of course, led by Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, when Ghanaians gave him the chance to become a president, did not waste time at all looking at the various manifesto commitments and looking at how they can be actually transformed into policies that will change the socioeconomic fortunes of this country. Now, it's difficult to talk about education policy without looking at some of the critical indicators, which, if you do right, leads to education's positive outcomes and, of course, positive socioeconomic transformation. Indicators such as the gross tertiary enrollment ratio, indicators such as the gross secondary enrollment ratio, especially when you look at the gross enrollment ratio for girls. In this country, when you look at 2016, and out of the girls that were eligible to go to school, it was about 48% that were in school. Now it's about 60%. Within 3 to 4 years, you can see that progress is being made. When you look at the fact that for the first time in the history of this country, you have, maybe not in the history, I'm sorry, in the recent history of this country, sorry, you have on the WASI, in the core subjects, in every single subject, there's a above 50% pass rate. So you can see that the various leading indicators which was implemented in terms of free secondary education, making sure children reported to school early on because they don't have to worry about fees, then saw its lagging indicator in the form of quality outcomes even on the WASI. So this evening I hope to have the opportunity to delve into these issues further and to have the opportunity to explain to you, the audience, and also to Ghanaians that Nana Danko Akufo-Addo's education policies are aimed at aligning education to socioeconomic transformation and making sure that the fortunes of this country will forever be transformed because we had the right education policies in place. Do I have some?
Right. Doctor, you have time. In fact, when
sure.
your fourth minute you hit the time, you'll be bailed out. Right.
So if we talk about socioeconomic transformation and we talk about education, as I already indicated, we have to look at the issues surrounding access. We have to look at the issues surrounding quality. We have to look at the issues surrounding relevance of the education system to the transformation of our nation's fortune. So in areas of access, secondary level access, you have the free senior high school. FQ has been there. We'll talk about tertiary, and we'll move on to quality and then relevance of our education system.
Thank you. So same question for all of you gentlemen. So we hear from the NDC. Yes, it's on. Please go on.
Thank you very much. I'd like to also write on the protocols established so that I can go straight to the point. Let me say that as a political party, the educational policies that will govern our country must be based on scientific evidence to conclude that a developing country can only develop with education being the key to the development, with education being the foundation. So education, in our view, is the knowledge industry of any nation and involves an entire value chain of activities at different levels. And this value chain of activities, if done properly, will then inure to an educated country. Importantly also, education defines the future of a country and it lives the present. And that means that any decisions taken in the present must be very carefully taken because the future of the nation is at stake. It also has to involve the socio-cultural values of the people as a commodity in order to get it done. And at the same time, being a global commodity, the individuals who become the outcomes of that educational system must be globally competitive. And that is why there's a need to relate the indigenous system to the global setting. And that is why I believe we have issues of SDGs that are defined at the United Nations level for member countries to adopt inside. It's also clear that education is a rights issue because society is not made of everybody who is capable of competing. And therefore, there must be discriminatory policies to lift those who are not capable so that they can catch up with the rest of society. It's an absolute fact that we are vulnerable people based on either geography or economic setting, and therefore policies must take on board these issues. We also have contemporary issues such as COVID-19 that just landed on us without our knowing, modern technology, which is ICT, and environmental issues that must all inform our educational policies at the end. And so these issues inform the NDC manifesto for 2020, and which I will soon state is critical issues. But what must be stated clearly is that educational policies must marry political decisions with technical expertise in order to arrive with what is reasonably convenient for our country, Ghana. And so to just highlight a few things that we have in our manifesto, we all believe that secondary education, free secondary education or senior high school education is here to stay. And the NDC pledges to sustain free senior high school, but will definitely reorganize the system to make it convenient for both parents, students, and teachers. The double track system will be a goner as soon as the NDC is put into office. Private schools will also be brought in to sustain the free senior high school system. The technical vocational education is an important variable that should inform our industrialization as a country. That is lacking behind, and therefore one of the key highlights of our policy is to enhance technical and vocational education in order to have the necessary human capital that can power our industry. It's also a fact that the COVID-19, well, there are many other things.
All right.
Maybe subsequently we can go further.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Let's hear from the CPP. If you are just joining us, this is your Joy News channel, and this is Joy 99.7 FM. We're coming to you live from the University for Development Studies here in Tamale. Yes, so
thank you, moderator, and good evening to all Ghanaians who are watching this program. The CPP, as you all know, is a mother party that ushered present-day Ghana into the Committee of Nations. And the CPP believes strongly that education is the bedrock of development, and no child should be left behind. And the CPP actually upholds the socialist educational policy that is enshrined in the Ghana Education Act of 1961. And for that matter, CPP believes that education is the leveler And for that, and everybody must have unrestricted access to education. The CPP will embark on its traditional educational policies by making education accessible to all. We will come and then make all boarding schools, all second cycle schools boarding to enable the youth from all over the country to meet and then associate easily and then serve as an incubator to be tolerant in future. The CPP government policy on education will actually make all the communities to make contribution into the policy, to the running of the educational policy that is going to be implemented. In fact, at the basic school, the BCE level, the CPP will actually emphasize on 4 main subjects. The rest will not be examinable. And these main subjects are science, integrated science, mathematics, English, and then a 4th one that can be selected from the community based on their electives. And these electives will also be informed by the activities in the environment in which these schools are located. If you come from an agricultural environment, then there must be agricultural focus as an elective. If you come from a fishing environment, then something on fishing and agriculture should be an elective. The CPP party and the CPP government, as you all know, has instituted free education from primary to the university, and that has been in existence all along. And we are coming to build upon that and then make sure that in this present day, we believe that in the knowledge economy, an educated citizen is actually the most prized human resource that you can get. And for that matter, we are going to intensify the study of science-based subjects, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics subjects, and to make sure that our youth will also rub shoulders with the youth of the rest of the world when it comes to developing current technologies that we need. Now, the whole world globally, the universe, we are going from the brick and mortar to the online distance learning. The CPP government is coming to intensify this and make sure there's a blend between the face-to-face brick and mortar and then the distance learning. We are going to encourage the study of science and technology and mathematics subjects so that in the knowledge-based economy that we are now, we want our youth to also contribute to developing applications that can be used globally to be able to increase the income and then the knowledge of our people, so that we will not just be borrowing people's applications and be using. We must put something on the global platform for people to use. So the CPP government is going to empower all the youth, ladies, girls will not be left out, and boys and everybody. But principally, we will make sure from secondary school, all second cycle schools will become boarding, so that it will create an incubation for the youth to mix and then learn from each other, so that in adult life, there will be no joke that anybody will crack and then it will draw daggers. It will make us to actually be cohesive, and we believe the boarding school system will actually become the glue that will bind this country together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Yalvi. Can we hear Dr. Divine Aivo of this PNC? What does your education policy say?
Good evening, everyone listening, all the invited guests. The PNC, the next ruling government of Ghana, we have some plans that nobody else has in their manifesto. Although you will hear some of the parties quoting from our manifesto, tonight we might reveal some. Education is a human right, according to our specification. That should not be denied anyone. Wholesome, disabled, rich or poor, rural or urban, they should all have identical opportunities for education. But if you look at the trend we're following, 5% of GDP was applied to education in 2001. Then it went up to 7.4 in 2005. 8.1 in 2011, and then it started decreasing. 4.5 in 2017. Now, you expect it to be going up because of the population increase. We are increasing at 700,000 to 800,000 per year in population growth. So that reducing the GDP portion that goes towards education is problematic, because even these figures are mainly for salaries, for teachers, nothing for infrastructure development. If you look in our rural areas, some of the schools Dr. Kwame Nkrumah built in 1961 educational program, some of those schools are still in existence without any maintenance. So you can see roofs are falling apart, classroom furniture is the same old furniture that our great-great-grandfathers used in modern-day Ghana. PNC is not in favor of those, because not only the students are suffering, but the teachers who are posted to rural areas, some of them, because of the excess heat and poor ventilation, end up bringing the children under trees for tutoring. We, PNC government, is going to apply 15% of GDP towards education. Yes, our GDP is dropping. It's about 50 billion right now. But we have plans. We have solid plans to make that possible, which no other party will look at. We are coming to look at the teachers who have been promised their reward is in heaven, that their reward will be right here on earth in Ghana. We will make sure our teachers who are posted to rural areas live as comfortably as those who are in the urban areas. So being posted to rural areas does not discourage you from doing what you're supposed to do. Teachers are very important. We will eliminate that the exams that they have to take now for licensure, because the schools they attended was a government school with a government curriculum, and they graduated. So there should be no more licensure, anything for them to go and take, but concentrate on teaching our children.
Thank you very much. I will now begin with the questions that I have to pose to you, and you have 2 minutes to respond. If I do follow up on the question I ask, you will have 1 minute to the follow-up question. The first question to Dr. Educhum of the NPP is, an Oxfam report published in 2018 found that girls are particularly dropping out on the chance of a better education, with the poorest girls from the most marginalized regions facing the greatest challenges. The report found, for instance, that only 26% of the poorest girls from the northern region finished primary education. Question: what would you do to ensure quality in school enrollment, retention, completion, as well as performance and transition among girls, regardless of their socio-economic backgrounds and location?
The issue of girls' enrollment in school has to be looked at within the context of the socio-economic circumstances that they find themselves. There are a number of times that parents are making a decision whether a girl should go to secondary school or a boy should go to secondary school, and invariably it's the boy. Because of cost barriers. When you remove cost barriers, then you begin to see that parents are not forced to select a boy over a girl. Whatever cultural reasoning that they may have. That is why at the beginning I said, the mic. Now, if you look at the gross enrollment ratio of girls in senior high schools, In 2015-16, it was 48.9%. 2018-19, it rose to 60.8%. So when you remove the cost barrier, parents are now not being forced to choose a boy over a girl. And therefore, you begin to see that girls get the opportunity to go to school. So Free Senior High School is doing some magic when it comes to girls' enrollment at the secondary level. But I also know that in many parts of our country, you have serious issues about dropouts. And therefore, anything that you do, you have to focus on making sure that the children who are on the streets are reintegrated into our schools. If you look at what we are doing, the Ghana Accountability for Learning Outcomes Program, over $200 million project sponsored by the World Bank, we have a component that focuses on how you get the children on the street, especially girls, back in school. So this government has also, through various strategies, done a good job at bringing children on the streets back to school. This was a project that we took over from the previous regime, and we have executed it very well, just as they were doing. But we've taken another step. Your 2 minutes.
Right. Now, my follow-up question to you in that regard will be that despite free SHS, which you have had an enrollment in excess of 1.2 million, this problem is reported. What is the missing link?
The problem, I've said, 48.9 has moved to 60.8 within a period of 3 years. That is great progress. You don't see this in many parts of the world. You don't accomplish it within that short period of time. So we are making progress as a nation. And if you look at the Complementary Education Agency, the new agency that is replacing the non-formal education recently passed in the Parliament of Ghana, the agency is now fully in charge of children who are out of school. And their focus is to make sure that whether they are boys or girls, northern or southern Ghana, we make sure these students are integrated into our school system. But you cannot do all this when you don't look at opportunity that you provide to really make sure children go to school. So when I hear my friend talking about double track will be eliminated, that is a recipe for disaster. Because what that means is that you are going to limit enrollment to senior high schools. And therefore, you have to bring back the cutoff point. And when you cut off, the disadvantaged students who did not do on the BC are the ones who will be on the street.
Thank you. So following up on that and to the NDC, the World Bank Human Capital Index in 2019 scored Ghana 44% in terms of quality education. The NDC has been talking about quality. It says the NPP has introduced free SHS, but it's the quality that you want to improve. Many Ghanaians, of course, have added their voices to the call for emphasis on quality in the delivery of education in Ghana. In consolidating the gains made, what specific plans will you put in place to ensure quality is upheld? Specific plans to ensure quality.
Well, I've always insisted that quality education is extremely important because it's quality that will produce quality human capital for the nation. And as long as quality is compromised, we are going to keep talking about the fallout of the hurriedly implemented policies that really are mainly for political expedience than serving the interests of the citizenry. Now, specifically, we need to disaggregate our problems that confront us in the educational sector and also ensure that vulnerable groups are identified and specifically targeted. Now, if a policy to have education made accessible is limited only to the accessibility, but does not look at the content in terms of quality. In other words, you expand access, and yet the tools and the logistics to deliver quality education is a matter. And that's why in the NDC manifesto policy, for education, we're saying that the retraining and retooling of our educational institutions will be key. And one of them is to expand the infrastructure so that nobody is left behind in the school system. Each person will have opportunity to be in school, and we also have to leverage on technology. COVID-19 caught us unawares to the extent that there was talk about brick and mortar classrooms. We had to go virtual. We didn't have the infrastructure to deal with it. This has got to be looked at closely so that people can have access to education. It doesn't matter where they are. When the fiber optic cable was being laid across the country, many people did not see the essence of it. But today, you see that clearly that is helping ICT to get to the remotest parts of the country, and that should help in enhancing our quality in terms of education delivery.
In talking about quality and in talking about access, particularly freeness of the education, the NDC in your manifesto speak about free TVETs. But it's free, is it not? So what exactly are you talking about providing?
We're saying that TVET schools will be targeted, and people who go to TVET schools will have a progression to go into the technical universities as their natural landing ground for tertiary education. And that education will be provided at no cost to the people who will be, or the students who will be going to those schools, just to serve as an incentive to boost and grow our technical educational system to go. Remember that for those of us who went to the standard, the vocational schools and the secondary schools as we have them normally, are judged at the same standard. The deputy minister was just quoting statistics, but this statistic did not disaggregate what we have as a normal senior high school and the vocational. And so the vocational students often find themselves blocked because they don't have tertiary institutions that they can enter as a matter of natural progression. We're saying that the technical universities, which will be established in 6 of them, the new regions, will provide entry points for
Thank you. And remember that you have opportunity of a rebuttal. If you do indicate, I will let you do so in 1 minute. All right, Dr. Duchu.
I think that there was a question about quality outcomes, and we've said and we've heard the talk about you did double track, you compromise quality. I don't know anywhere in the world where you do something so bad and then you get positive outcomes. If double track and free senior high school as an access program compromise quality, why did we get better outcomes than 2015? And I think if you look at the data, you're going to realize that in mathematics, 2015, the score was 32.5%. This year, 65%. So if we compromise our implementation of free secondary education without introducing quality measures, my brother is right. If you do access and you don't have quality measures introduced, yes, you compromise quality. But we had quality measures introduced, grants for schools for intervention, for example. And the fact that students will not settle their school fees, the fact that students came to school during the first week of school and not the third or the fourth because the parents are waiting for money, that in itself gave an opportunity for an increase in contact hours, and also the fact that we increased contact hours from 1,080 to 1,134 hours. Those are quality measures.
Your time is up, and I see that Dr. Yaku still has his hand up. Okay, quickly.
Yes, I think that the Honorable Minister has got it mixed up somewhere. The people who are doing the double track are yet to ride the WASI. The first batch of people, the first batch of free SHS had the normal system. They didn't have a double track affecting them. And so they are yet to ride WASI for us to see the impact of the double track on the WASI outcome. That's one.
The fact will be that those who have already written, participated in double track.
Fine.
Right.
But I also think that 50% pass rates is not exactly what the nation is looking for.
Yeah, but they had 32%.
No,
in
Dr.
2016.
You are not allowed to intervene.
I'm not sure a 50% pass rate is what we can call quality. It may be better than whatever it is, but 50% is not, for as far as I'm concerned, is not the right target for us. That's one. The other issue is that why do we have the double track system? That's the main question. And the double track system was introduced because we simply didn't have enough classrooms to contain the students. And so we are saying that why don't we complete the infrastructure that can provide more classrooms so that the double track system will not be necessary. I think that we have to be careful that we don't take makeshift measures to become permanent in our system.
Thank you. Now to the CPP. The CPP actually has had a very impactful role in seeking to champion the FQ, Free Compulsory Universal Basic Education. For 20 years now, we have been at the implementation. Question: we have free basic education. What happens to the compulsory aspects? What will the CPP do?
Thank you. The CPP is talking about free compulsory quality education from pre-primary to university. And that is what we have done. And that is what is existing now. If they talk about this free SSS, it's just that small segment that they have just taken out. But CPP all along, since independence, since 1961, when we have this educational trust, education has been free from primary to university. In fact, all of us here, we attended university free. So we are coming to say that there must be quality into the present educational system. How do we ensure the quality? First of all, the one body that is doing the teaching must be motivated and must be given an incentive-laden conditions of service. If teachers are dissatisfied, they will not be able to give their best. Some of us were taught by middle school leavers, people teachers, and we have managed to make it out to where we are now. Today, we have graduates, first degree and second degree holders teaching in our basic schools, and the performance is nothing to write home about. And this is where we feel those who are practicing the educational policy after us have missed something. And if Ghanaians give us a mandate, we will restore that dignity and that pride that Ghana once enjoyed as the leading educational country in the sub-region.
The question required specifically what you will do to ensure the compulsory aspects of the FQ.
That's what I'm saying, that we need the warm bodies. If that is part of the syllabus, then the teachers that must actually comply to teach those must be properly trained. So we have to train the human resource to teach those courses. And now we are lucky to have graduates teaching in the basic schools. Those teachers must be equipped with the skills to make sure that the compulsory components are there. To be compulsory, it means nobody should be left in the house. And that means no parents will have to keep the word not to go to school. The government must make sure schools are available in all communities, and every school-going age must be available to go to school. So it will not be the prerogative of the parent not to allow the child to go to school. Because if the thing is free and we make it compulsory, the district assemblies will enforce that no child is left in the house. So there is going to be a multifaceted approach whereby all stakeholders will have to play their role. Parents, the district assemblies, the municipal assemblies must make sure no child is left in the house. And we make sure that the teachers who are in the classroom giving the instruction are well motivated and giving incentive-laden remunerations.
To the PNC, and as the CPP just mentioned, the teacher. The teacher is central. What policy do you have regarding teacher deployment and retention? And here we are talking about rural schools, and how will you ensure implementation in order to bridge the gap between the urban and rural schools. Remember, we are here in Tamale, in the northern region.
Thank you for reminding me of that. Because PNC just toured the northern region, and I have seen with my own eyes the difficulties. If I was a teacher posted here, I may resign because the conditions are unbearable. PNC policy on education, we have discovered that it is all based on financial difficulties and appropriations. The money is not there. If you look at this free SHS program, how much exactly was spent on it is nowhere to be found, because the money was spent as it was needed and it wasn't budgeted for. So it wasn't there for us to find out, to tell you right now. So this is PNC's approach. We are giving free education from kindergarten to the university level. Absolutely free. And education is not restricted to academia only. Apprenticeship. People who want to learn how to sew, they will go to their district assembly and pick up a form, and we will fund that. People want to go into carpentry, auto mechanics. All that is education. Anything that will lift up a person from poverty to a standard where he can survive with his family is education. We will award you certificates if you complete a certain years in training and your institution qualifies you as such. So the government is prepared to pay that. With private institutions which are booming, private universities, we will pay the portion that we are paying the government institutions.
Thank you. So you exhaust your rebuttal. That's your last rebuttal opportunity you have. Please, let's hear you. Dr. Duchum has a rebuttal.
Yeah, just so that since we are on air and the whole world is watching, my brother, education is budgeted for every year. You just don't go and pick up the money and spend. So it's something that if you check Hansard of Parliament, you see all the budget approvals for education. You cannot just go and pick any money and spend as you want. That is not done in this country. Then in terms of your TVET policy, it's being done now. It's called competency-based education, developed by CODVET. And yes, private sector, public sector, they take you from your prior knowledge and you're able to earn a certificate and move on. In fact, they develop a curriculum that can take somebody in TVET all the way to PhD. So my brother, I'm glad that we are talking about it, but Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is already doing it.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the juncture at which we take a very brief break of 2 minutes and return to have the professional groups within us, professional groups, field their questions to our panelists. On this note, may I now ask all of you to put your hands together and a round of applause for Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, Dr. Ahmed Yakubu Al-Hassan, Professor Emmanuel Yaovi, and Dr. Divine Aivo. If you are just tuning in, you are watching us on your Joy News channel, and you're listening to us on Joy 99.7 FM. We'll be right back. You're welcome back to the University for Development Studies, and this is the UDS in partnership with NORSAC and Oxfam, bringing you the political parties' debates on their education policies. This is Joy 99.7 FM and your Joy News channel on multi-TV. Once again, our panelists have been Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, who is Deputy Minister for Education and MP for Bosomchi, representing the NPP. Dr. Ahmed Yakubu Al-Hassan is former Deputy Minister Agric and former MP Mion constituency here in the Northern Region, representing the NDC. Professor Emmanuel Yaovi Honwe Bobobi is the Vice Presidential candidate of the CPP, and Pastor Dr. Divine Aivo is Vice Presidential candidate of the PNC. In this segment, ladies and gentlemen, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, the University Teachers Association, teacher professional groups are here to field the questions. They will ask one question at a time, and each panelist will answer the same question. You have 2 minutes to give your response. There shall be 2 opportunities of rebuttals and eventually 2 minutes of a closing remark. If the bell rings on you, please finish your point at the time the bell rings. Shall we now have the professional groups ask their questions? Your name and your question in 30 seconds, if you can.
Thank you very much, moderator. Good evening, Ghana. I'm Lydia Adetuk, the Regional Secretary of Northern Region, and I'm here with the Regional Chairman, Mr. Atal Longya. We have sat through the program, listening to the presentations by the political parties. We, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, for that matter, NATS, we want to know how will they secure a sustainable funding for pre-tertiary education delivery in Ghana. Thank you very much.
Sustainable funding for free tertiary education delivery in Ghana. The NDC has pre-tertiary or free tertiary. Did you say pre-tertiary? Pre-tertiary education delivery in Ghana. So same question to all of you, beginning in the order that you appear on the ballot paper. Dr. Educhu.
Thank you, my sister. When it comes to education funding in this country, when it's infrastructure, you're talking about GET Fund that provide the resources. And as is currently happening, GET Fund future resources has now been used in securing $1.5 billion for infrastructure development across the length and breadth of this country. It began with free senior high school structures being built, over 1,200 buildings completed so far in senior high schools. And then you also have at the primary and junior high school level, dilapidated buildings are being pulled down and new buildings are being built. The next phase of the $1.5 billion is both for primary and junior high and then tertiary education infrastructure development. So in terms of infrastructure, that is where you go. Of course, when it comes to salary and other related expenses, it comes from the budget of the nation. And when you make a commitment that human capital development is important, then you do everything possible to ensure that there's adequate budget allocation for salaries, for teaching and learning materials, as we've done since 2017, making sure 4 core textbooks are provided to every single student at the secondary level, which was never the case before. So yes, in terms of sustainable education funding, yes, as a nation, there are times where you may have to look at what we did with GET Fund securitization and raise substantial amount of money to do what we cannot do relying on your annual allocation. And there are times when you also have to look at other sources of funding like Gallup, Ghana Accountability for Learning Outcomes Program, with a 50 million grant component, and the rest is a concession loan that we are using to really improve 10,000 low-performing basic schools across the country, and they are getting additional capitation grants in all those schools.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ahmed Yakubu Al-Hassan, how will you ensure sustainable funding for pre-tertiary education?
Yes,
Yes, it's on.
Yes, the sustainable funding.
Just hold it this way, it's on.
Sustainable funding is extremely important. Hello?
It's on.
Sustainable funding is extremely important, and every government must ensure that that happens, because education is a continuum. It never stops at any point. So responsible governments must find resources to keep the educational wheel turning. There are the traditional sources, which is the standard national budgets, which is source of funding. There's GET Fund, which was established to ensure that all funds in GET Fund are ring-fenced to invest in education. But in the 2020 budget, the NDC is committing the big push, which is a $10 billion investment in our economy, and nonetheless, the educational sector will definitely have a share to keep going. It's also important to cut back on waste, particularly in our entire economic system, so that such monies can be saved to invest in our educational system. There are also partnerships that will be multilateral and bilateral in nature, and also private sector in nature, to ensure that these links are established and then have educational system continuously oiled in terms of funding.
Right, let's hear from the CPP. Professor Emmanuel Yaovi.
Thank you very much, Nat, for that very interesting question. We in the CPP believe that education is the foundation of civilization and development. And once we believe in that, it means it is something that is continuous. It is in continuum. For that matter, how do we sustain it? Government is responsible for collecting direct and indirect taxes, from all of us as citizens. And for that matter, education must be paid for by government. So we will be able to provide revenue from the direct and indirect taxes to sustain and pay for the pre-tertiary education. Not only that, but from pre-tertiary up to tertiary. So that when we get an educated citizens, especially we focus on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics subjects, I think our development will leap in bounds and folds. And for that matter, we are not going to compromise at all. So funding will be found, and then it will be used judiciously. We will plug all holes of corruption, misappropriation, and mismanagement, and make sure the teacher is well rewarded, and the teaching profession becomes very noble again, so that the teacher and then the pupils will be happy for the future development of this country. Thank you.
Dr. Ivo, PNC. Sustainable funding, how?
Sustainable funding. Corruption is a cancer that is eating this country up. Ghana is a very rich country. We've been blessed with every resource, every mineral. And now we got 6% of the oil, highest oil available in sub-Saharan Africa. Ghana is rich. Corruption is taking $30 billion a year from Ghanaian economy. PNC has plans to end corruption. We will prosecute. We will imprison government officials. We will confiscate property and sell them. We will imprison thieves. And if you are in the prison and you are still manipulating outside and we detect it, there could be an extermination program, because it must be stopped. People are suffering in this country for no reason.
But Dr. Aivo, when you say
extermination,
when you say corruption takes so much from this country, you mean the reported 3 billion, not 30 billion?
3 billion.
You said corruption takes how much from this country?
I saw 30 billion in my research.
No.
You think it's 3 billion?
It's 3 billion.
I will
unaccounted for, according to the anti-corruption agencies.
3 billion. That's enough to do something. We will stop it. We will make it detestable for any government official to steal from Ghana government. And with all that, plus our mineral resources, we should be able. My mother was a teacher for 40 years, so I know what teachers go through. She never owned a car, she never owned a house because of that profession. So we will make sure, PNC will make sure we have low interest loans for cars so teachers can drive some nice cars. We will make sure by their retirement there will be a mortgage scheme that will make sure they own their own homes when they retire. Because until then, we need to adjust this rent control that you don't pay 2 years rent to own a place, to have a place to sleep. No more. When PNC comes into office, the rent is 1 month rent, 1 month security. Nobody's going to pay 2 years rent for anybody to look for a place to sleep. So we are coming to transform Ghana and deliver prosperity to all Ghanaians. And that is the PNC position on that question.
Thank you very much. Who is next in the professional groups?
My name is Mohammed Sani Al-Hassan, Regional Chairman, Nagrat Northern Region. I represent our President, Mr. Angel Kabonu. Our question simply is this. We listen to the policy makers and they have said a lot about what they will do to ensure quality education. They have mentioned a lot of interventions that will promote this. My question now is, I want each and every political party to mention a specific intervention that is geared towards the teacher to make him happy to assist in this all-quality education.
Thank you very much. Specific intervention aimed at improving the lot of the teacher and attracting teachers. And let's also remember that here at this debate, our interest is in attracting the teacher to the rural communities. Yes, starting with Dr. Duchum.
Thank you. My brother, this is November, and I got a lot of calls from teachers in my constituency that their professional allowance is being paid, and I'm excited that a promise was made and that promise has been kept. Now, if you look at new teachers that are being trained, once upon a time, their allowance was taken away from them. MPP came to power, we restored the allowance. But the good news is that the president also saw that if other countries are training teachers for 4 years and awarding them bachelor's degree before they step in the classroom, then in spite of the fact that he's paying allowance, he's still going to educate these teachers for 4 years. So today, as I speak with you, our teachers are being prepared to earn a bachelor's degree. No more top-up, no more sandwich. Teachers are now going to begin their journey on a higher salary scale. On top of that, 4 years allowance paid for teachers who are new to the profession. This is how you get them happy. And 4 years is going to prepare them very well in both pedagogy and then the content, how to teach and what to teach. 4 years. That is the standard around the world, and that standard under the leadership of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is being implemented right now. The students are going to their 3rd year, and there will be a 4th year, and they will earn a bachelor's degree before they step into the classroom. Also, the idea of continuous professional development that has never been done in this country, It was one of the main concerns when you look at education quality. Now, Ghana Education Service have set time aside within the instructional calendar where students don't go to school and teachers go for professional development. It's called People Free Days. Practice around the world, now it is in Ghana. It's a very important way of getting teachers to be trained, not at their own cost. Teachers have suffered. A number of them will take their own money to go and get training during vacation. Now that training is being offered to them at their school sites. And I think it's a very valuable contribution to teachers who want to do the best for their students and are yearning for the opportunity to be equipped with 21st century skills so that they in turn can impart 21st century skills.
Right, so Dr. Ahmed Yakubu Al-Hassan,
there are many
specific intervention for the teacher.
Yes, there are many of them. I mentioned a few. One, teachers' retention premium will be increased. Two, the mandatory national service for all teachers will be abolished. Three, teachers' licensure examinations for graduation will be abolished. Four, the restore automatic employment for newly trained teachers. Five, fast-track promotions and application for teachers, which is often very frustrating. There will be open special credit lines to facilitate access to credits for teachers to access. There will be provision of other logistics such as laptops to teachers to facilitate teaching and learning. And then also reinstate the payment of responsibility allowances to teachers. Also, teachers who are offering their services in rural environments and categories as such will be given special incentives to be able to withstand the situation as compared to their colleagues in the urban environments.
Dr. Duchum, you have your hand up for a rebuttal. 1 minute.
Teacher licensure. I am a teacher, and I love to say that I'm a teacher. I'm proud to be a teacher. All other professions get their licensures, the lawyers, and you finish law school, you are not done. Accountants, you get a bachelor's degree in accounting, you are not an accountant until you charter. Teachers deserve that recognition too. So when we talk about teacher licensure, it's not about punishment for the teacher. It's about affirming the teacher in his knowledge and saying that you are just like anybody else. Now, once upon a time, some people said they were not going to do it, but they began a pilot. We have come to say that teachers are professionals just like anybody else. So in addition to their degree, they are going to have something on the wall that says that you are a professional teacher. Therefore, nobody can just wake up and go around and say, I have a WASI and I'm a teacher. They go and do something, and then people are talking about all teachers. We want professional teachers, and the licensure is not a punishment. It's an opportunity to affirm them and to value them.
Thank you. All right. Yes, 1 minute.
As a political party, we do believe that if somebody is trained in a teacher training institution, he comes out as a trained teacher, and therefore there's no need to write another exam to qualify the person to be a teacher. In the event that the person doesn't pass the licensure exam, does it mean that the fellow wasn't trained as a teacher? I mean, quality issues, yes, has to do with retraining, retooling, and ensuring that there's continuous education for teachers so that they can come to grasp with trends within the sector. As a medical officer, will constantly have to be reading medical books and going for technical training in various places to equip him to be a better doctor. I think that is what teachers need, not to finish a training, your training and the license again to become a teacher.
Professor Emmanuel Yalvi, specific teacher-oriented intervention.
Thank you. The CPP will restore the nobility status to teaching profession, will make teaching a noble profession again. And then those who go into teaching will be adequately rewarded. Teaching will be incentive-laden, and it will be a first-line job of employment for only the most motivated. It is not going to be anything like anybody who has not got a job in the banking sector or anywhere, then he wants to be a teacher. No. We were taught by people teachers, and we are where we are today. Because in those days, teaching was a noble profession. We shall make teaching a noble profession again by rewarding the teaching profession adequately, making it incentive-laden. We promote continuous professional development because it's a profession, and for that matter, they must be upgrading their skills and knowledge in the latest tools and skills that are necessary to enable them to impart their knowledge adequately to their students. We want them to accept that it is not going to be business as usual. If you go into the teaching profession, you are one of the most prized, professionals in our system. It's not just, it is for those who have nothing to do that to go into teaching again. No, because you are actually going to form the mind of the future generation, the future leaders of this country. And for that matter, it will be a very, very rewarding profession. And the CPP will make sure teachers actually assume their pride of place again among their fellow professionals.
Dr. Divine Ivo, specific intervention for the teacher.
For the teacher, like I've already said, we will look at the teacher salary structure to make it better. That means every teacher will get a pay raise. We will offer competitively low interest car loans to all teachers in the public sector. That if they want to buy a car, they will be free to do that. We'll offer duty-free car importation facility to all professional teachers and educational workers. We provide adequate and decent accommodation facilities for teachers posted in rural areas. The government will make sure that the teacher, sanitation, water, light are available in a decent place for them to live as they teach. We'll introduce mortgage schemes for all teachers and educational workers for them to own houses upon retirement. We'll introduce scholarships for management and administrative studies for teachers interested in becoming school managers, head teachers, so they can progress in their field according to merit. We will take care of teachers because we have them at heart and we appreciate what they do in society. We will be a poorer nation if our teachers have not been helped to live and enjoy what they do.
Thank you very much. Shall we have the next question?
Centerpiece around which these facilities must build. And if an analysis of the chain sees that accommodation is the key issue that teachers must have, certainly there's a commitment in the NDC manifesto to get that done. There must be other facilities, as I said earlier, in terms of even potable water and electricity. Thank you so much.
Professor Emmanuel Yalvi.
Thank you. For CPP, what we'll do is that there will be an allowance for teachers that will be posted to rural areas. So there will be a rural allowance for teachers. Secondly, also, teachers that are teaching STEM subjects will also have an additional top-up allowance. Thirdly, for housing, the CPP government will partner with SNIT to put up affordable houses in all rural communities where we have basic schools, so that teachers who have trained in urban areas with all the facilities will not suffer any discomfort when they are posted to the rural areas. So we have houses that will be put up in all these remote areas to match the standard that are in the urban areas, and then to have access to electricity, potable water, and internet facilities, so that they will enjoy the same standard of living as their counterparts in the urban areas. And also, the CPP government will actually ensure that we institute an insurance policy for all teachers, and then especially those who are going to the rural areas.
Thank you. Dr. Divine Ivo.
We have discovered that there are so many uncompleted projects from previous administrations that are lying there. PNC first task is to complete all incompleted projects of all the previous administration, including school buildings. And in the rural areas, we'll begin with the rural areas by building affordable high-rise apartments next to the schools for the teachers who are going to be in the rural areas to live in for free as they teach in the schools. So moving to a rural area will have an economic benefit for any teacher who will look at it. If you have been to rural Ghana, you will see even the roads are deplorable. Live here and go to Chiriponi and you will think you're going to die. Go to Tumu, go to Garu, all those roads, horrible roads. And when you get in there, you will see all our posters there. That means every political party is aware of the difficulties those people are going through. I was a teacher, except I have free accommodation and some incentives. Moving there will be a problem. So PNC will make sure that the system has adjusted itself to make the teacher feel important in this society.
Thank you. And that will be exhausting your rebuttal. Yes, Dr. Edichum.
I love PNC. In terms of uncompleted buildings on our campus, it's been done. The president is completing uncompleted buildings. So by the time you realize that manifesto commitment of yours has already been done. And I also have my brother to my left who speaks so much about helping teachers. And they are the ones who cancel free import duties for teachers to bring in their cars. So I don't know that teachers who are watching us, I don't know if they are bringing that back.
Thank you. Dr. Yakubu Al-Hassan, okay, wants to...
The point I just wanted to make was that as a country, we should seek to improve the rural environment itself so that it doesn't remain rural, for us to look for policies for rural environments. There must be a standard that should raise rural environments to the standard that we want so that everybody can function as a person. In some jurisdictions, they call what we call rural areas here countryside. And people really feel like moving from the urban environment to the countryside simply because when you go to the countryside, the facilities are simply there so that you can enjoy your life as you wish, particularly in a peaceful manner. So I think that political parties and governments must seek to raise rural environment from their ruralness towards urban.
Thank you. Shall we take our very final question?
Okay, thank you. My name is Dr. Felix Longi, UTAC President, UDS, but I'm representing my national president who is unable to be here. My question is straight. I've realized all of you spoke throughout. The focus has been on, very little has been said about tertiary education. One cardinal thing I want to ask about is research. These developed countries we are all aspiring to get to did that on the basis of research. They link research to development. My question is, all the political parties, what specific plans do you have to ensure that sufficient funds are set aside for research in the tertiary institutions which will go to fuel development? Thank you.
Thank you. And on this note, each panelist has 1 minute. 1 minute. Starting with Dr. Educhum.
Okay, in terms of tertiary, one of the most important things that I know tertiary institutions are yearning for is an opportunity to expand their facilities and beyond that, to have students have the means to come to you. And that is why in our manifesto we have committed that once you have your national ID, you do not need a guarantor to get loans to go to a tertiary institution. Because if we do the research, we do it with students, and we need the students from the various corners of this country, irrespective of their socioeconomic status, get the opportunity to come to tertiary. So tertiary loans without guarantor is what we are bringing to the next MPP administration. Then you talk about the National Research Bill, which we are working on now. And you also know that teachers' research allowances are being paid by this government. And the National Research Bill, a product of the Science, Technology, Environment Ministry and Ministry of Education, will respond to the research needs of this nation. We believe that if you look at other jurisdictions and you look at various universities teaming up with industries and professors to do research, it's something that we need to work on.
Thank you. Let's hear from the NDC. Research.
Yes, we know that research outputs is essential for the advancement of every society and, in fact, every nation. And clearly, without research and science and development, no nation can really advance to the levels that they want. And so the NDC is committed as a party that should look after research in all its ramifications. And that is why, for the universities in particular, the Public Universities Bill, that is an attempt to control universities, will certainly be something that the NDC government will not tolerate. If it is, the government has currently suspended discussions on it. I hope it will become a cancellation altogether. If it doesn't and is passed into an act, the NDC government will repeal that act because we believe in the sanctity of the independence of universities, because that is how they can do research better and collaborate to get funding for universities, in addition to establishing
CPP
a research
on the
fund.
subject of research.
Thank you. Thank you. CPP believes research actually must create the knowledge for wealth generation in the country. So we feel those in the tertiary institutions, they are at the apex of the educational industry. And for that matter, they need to be resourced adequately to be able to do their principal core business of teaching, research, and extension. For that matter, the CPP government will allocate 3% of national GDP to support research in the universities so that they generate adequate and relevant knowledge that can be used to create wealth for society. And we are not going to joke about it at all, because if you see our track record, we place emphasis on indigenous knowledge, and we feel that Ghanaian is equally intelligent to be able to rise up to the highest level of his counterpart in any part of the world, if adequately resourced. And for that matter, we are going to make resources available to all our universities and then those in the scientific
community. Let's hear from the PNC.
Thank you.
PNC, every faculty will be resourced for research and development. Without that, our industrialization does not mean anything. We need more research and development in all the areas of education. Maybe we have to deploy a communication satellite so we can have adequate networks in every part of the country. And with all those in place and adequate funding, we know Ghana will become a better place when PNC takes over the realms of government.
Thank you very much. And I'll take your closing remarks in 30 seconds each, starting with Dr. Edichum. 30 seconds.
On December 7th, education is on the ballot. Quality education is on the ballot. The President of the Republic has done so well. You have 10 science, technology, engineering, and mathematics centers under construction in various regions of this country. 10 science schools bigger than PRESEC are being built across the country, full boarding schools. We are improving education supervision. Recently, vehicles have been distributed to all district education centers, directorates, regional directors have received vehicles, schools have received pickup trucks. The government wants to reform education like yesterday and truly move Ghana forward to a point where our transformation will become a real transformation.
Thank you. NDC.
Yes, I believe that as a party, We have adequately analyzed the education value chain. We have very good responses in our manifesto to respond to the gaps that we find in the educational sector, right from pre-tertiary up to the tertiary level. And I believe that the next NDC government will certainly be implementing policies that will bring back the glory days of a functional educational system in Ghana. It has also to be noted that the NDC government will not be too keen about aggregate statistics. That really just gives you some warmth, but will be interested in disaggregating information to see the weaknesses and respond accordingly.
Professor Emmanuel Yavi.
Yeah, the CPP government is always aware that education is key, and it is enshrined in even the constitution that we are practicing now. We know the value of education and its contribution to national development. We have set up even the CSRR before, when no country in Africa was having such. So the CPP government is going to give premium to education and make sure no child is left behind in this 21st century, where we are moving away from raw materials to knowledge-based economy. So we need to train our mind, the mind of our future leaders, to be able to provide that to the education.
Let's hear from the PNC.
Thank you.
I'm very happy that PNC is on this podium, that the other ruling parties have all this knowledge on how to improve education, but they just never had enough time to implement them. And it will be the same problem if you vote them back into office. So take this opportunity to vote them out of office and give PNC a chance for 4 years to see what will happen in the education sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of you. As we give a round of applause to all of our panelists, let us welcome Dr. Ibrahim Mohammed Gunu, who is the Acting Dean of the Faculty of Education of UDS, to give us the closing remarks. And this has been the 2020 National Political Parties Educational Policy Debate in Ghana by the UDS in collaboration with NOSAC and Oxfam. Our panelists have been Dr. Yao Educhum, who is Deputy Minister for Education and MP for Bosomtwe, representing the NPP, Dr. Ahmed Yakub Al-Hassan, who is former Deputy Minister Agriculture, former MP Mion constituency here in the Northern Region, representing the NDC, Professor Emmanuel Yaovi Honwe Bobobi is Vice Presidential Candidate of the CPP, and Pastor Dr. Divine Aivo is Vice Presidential Candidate of the PNC. Let's now hear Dr. Ibrahim Mohammed Gunu.
Honorable Minister of State, diplomats present, Pro-Vice-Chancellor, the former Vice-Chancellor, principals of colleges of education, deans and directors, senior members, executives of political parties present, the media, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. As we come to the end of this insightful and interesting debate, I wish to express my profound gratitude to all the participating political parties for making time out of their busy schedules to attend the program. We look forward to your participation again next election year. Ladies and gentlemen, may I also take this opportunity to express similar gratitude to NOSAC and Oxfam for sponsoring the program. I hope we can always rely on you for continuous support. It is no secret that the program will not have achieved this success without your participation and the cooperation of our audience. We are most grateful to you all. We are also grateful to the media, especially Joy TV and Joy FM, for your live coverage of the program. Ladies and gentlemen, the focus of this debate is on the broader context of educational policy as in the policy text, policy discourse, and policy effects. In Ghana, educational policy making is gradually drifting towards policies contained in the manifestos of political parties. The policies as contained in the manifesto of the political party that wins or retains power are in most cases reproduced for national legislations. That is why this debate is useful, as it offers the citizenry the opportunity to know about the policies of the various political parties. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I say thank you for making the program a success.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gunu. And I want all of you to give a round of applause for yourselves. We have been live on Joy 99.7 FM and Joy News channel on your multi-TV. I have been your moderator, Samson Ladi Anyanini. Have a good night.